Hey, that's me. Today I'll be talking about good versus bad level design in Super Mario Maker 2, with a focus on Super Expert and Kaizo levels. I'll be explaining what factors determine whether a level has good level design, like in this Kaizo College level featuring Clawllege by the legendary Carl Sagan, and what factors determine whether a level has bad level design, like in this 10-second speedrun lava level with a lot of spam by a random Japanese guy. Throughout this video, my goal is to list and define the various important factors that influence both good and bad level design. Hopefully, by the end of the video, I can illustrate clear and specific guidelines as to why a level is good or bad. Let's begin by briefly going over what Super Expert and Kaizo levels are. So what are Super Expert and Kaizo levels? Super Expert refers to the highest difficulty tier in the Endless Challenge mode in Super Mario Maker 2. Kaizo levels are also very difficult levels, except that they usually specialize around one central gimmick, and require near-perfect timing and precision to complete. Both kinds of levels are usually characterized by having an extremely low clear rate among a large number of attempts. So when you see either of these terms, it usually means it's a very, very hard level. So how do we distinguish between good and bad level design for highly difficult levels? Well, one of the first things that comes to mind is evaluating how well a level uses indicators. Indicators include such things as arrows, coin trails, and the Z symbol. The Z symbol is a universal sign to press a shoulder button and perform some sort of spin jump. The Z basically means to spin. Indicators like these share a common goal, to illustrate to a player what exactly they're supposed to do to beat certain parts of a level, and sometimes when they're supposed to do that thing as well. Because indicators like these ultimately do make it a little easier to beat a level, there's sometimes an argument of, why do I have to make my level easier for people to like it? This question is best answered by the next major design key. So what's the difference between pure frustration and actual difficulty? Well, typically, frustration comes from not understanding what the hell you're supposed to do, or what you're doing wrong. Let's look at a great example of how you can prevent this kind of frustration in BarbarousKing's Kaizo level, the Terminator. In this section, a player is not only given a clear direction of where to go, he's also allowed a preview of the upcoming gimmick, and given ample time to evaluate the rhythm of the alternating spike blocks. If the player fails, there's a good chance they'll understand why. Now let's take a look at the 10-second speedrun Super Expert level. Here, not only is the player given no indicators, they have no time to evaluate what the hell it is they're supposed to do when they come out of the door. If the player fails, it's likely they'll have no idea why. This concept of frustration versus difficulty is why the challenge in some levels can be fun, while in others can suck balls. And that brings us to our next design key, which can be a very large source of frustration if not implemented properly. A legendary Mario Maker streamer, known by many for both his incredible skill as well as his calm and patient personality, once made the famous statement, "What the fuck even is this shit, man? This is such a janky setup." Janky, not to be confused with Jinkies from Scooby-Doo, is a combination of the terms inconsistent and shitty. It's when something in a level doesn't always seem to work the same way. And it can add an artificial layer of difficulty when something doesn't always work as intended. In a well-designed level, it should always feel like the gimmicks work consistently as long as you execute properly according to the indicators. Having a lot of consistent setups gives a player the feeling that you polish a level until it's nice and clean. And speaking of polishing a level, let's talk about the next design key. The professional term, too much shit, can be interpreted in a few different ways. One thing this can mean is several different tricks layered on top of each other with little to no warning. In this case, there's too much shit going on at once. Another interpretation of this is having a lot of unnecessary hazards, objects, and coins all on screen at once for no apparent reason. This can make it extremely difficult for a player to navigate what exactly they're supposed to be doing and where they're supposed to be going. Too much shit could also refer to having a sound effect, mechanics, and a boss fight all happening at once. While certainly hilarious, it can be very annoying for a player, as well as make it difficult to focus. In a good level, you want to use the minimum number of things required to accomplish your goal. And with that, we move on to our fifth and final design key. When making a difficult level, you want to require the least amount of memorization that you can. In other words, you don't want to stuff your level with multi-layer tricks that require extreme precision. You don't want the main difficulty of your level to be remembering what to do. And that's because even in highly difficult levels, fun actually plays a role in determining whether it's good or bad level design. The more you have to memorize, the less fun you're gonna have. Imagine that you're still in school and you have to study for a test that's filled with a lot of bullshit. Except that instead of school, you're now doing it in your free time for a fucking video game. In a good level, you want most of the tricks to be intuitive. Once you understand what to do for each section, it should be relatively easy to remember. That's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Unlike those other YouTubers, I'll never ask you guys to like, subscribe, or follow me on other social media. See you next time.